What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and I love that it's taken everybody else 30 years to know what I knew 30 years ago, that a Goofy movie is fun. It's not a bad movie, and I watched an entire documentary that reminded me that 30 years ago, it flopped and critics hated it. So we're going to talk about a Goofy movie. Click like and subscribe. This movie does have audio description on Disney Plus, and it's celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. Disney is actually surprisingly rolling out the red carpet a little bit for it in terms of producing both a documentary, not just a goof, which sadly does not have audio description for Disney Plus. So fans of the movie can learn a little bit more about the process of making the movie and talking to some of the cast members who were involved in the making of the film, as well as having a big 30th anniversary shindig for it at the El Capitan, where they have premiered all of their movies prior. So, yeah, I would say that we're living in a goofisance, if you a goofisance, not a renaissance. This is subscribe for dumbass words that I make up off the top of my head. So yeah, of course a Goofy movie was catered to me. By the way, it's a Goofy movie. I've heard a couple people who have referred to it as the Goofy movie. No, those are like those people who show that they're not really the fan of the movie when they come in, and they're like, because it's like you don't even know what the movie's called. Anyway, so it's directed by Kevin Lima, and yes, the movie was like targeted at me in 1995 because as a kid who grew up with Goof Troop, I naturally was. This was not like a shock to my system to watch a Goofy movie like it was apparently for some people to watch Goofy being sort of occasionally like a normal person, like actually being able to have conversations with people. And I mean, yes, it's a father-son road trip, and it focuses fairly equally on Goofy, but Max is really the lead. It's really about this kid that's growing up and learning how to interact with his peers as well as learning to interact with his dad. And it's certainly it's a venture for Disney in their animation department that steps away from a lot of the other things they've done before, which are just these cartoons for kids that are these fantasies and these adventures about people in places that feel nowhere really like your home, doing these sort of magical, fantastical journeys. When you look at, Aladdin and Belle and Ariel and all the ones with anthropomorphic animals in them, a lot of them just didn't really match the kind of world that you lived in. But Goof Troop does. Goof Troop just feels like a kid growing up in the early 90s, going to school, listening to music, hanging with friends, worried about his status, living next door to his best friend who seems to have his dad just buys everything, and so he always has the coolest electronics and the fanciest gear, flashiest things. So the 90s were all about status. Fast fashion has kind of put that away, but the 90s were all about what brand are you wearing, and it's a Goofy movie has a lot of that in it, and even has some sort of standout 90s voices in there. Kelly Martin notably playing the love interest, but also Pauly Shore with the cheddar as Bobby. I can't do a Pauly Shore voice. And in the extra voices, additional voices crew, you've got Joey Lawrence and Dante Basco, who for this time period, I mean, Dante was Rufio in Hook. Of course, Joey Lawrence, this isn't, this is his transition period, sort of coming out of Blossom, so he still is in his teen idol phase. So the fact that he lent his voice here to sort of flesh out the group of kids, um, you know, they picked the right people to sort of define 1995, and they did it earlier on because they were making this sort of concurrently with The Lion King, and The Lion King came out before Goofy movie, so they're making this it takes a few years for hand-drawn animation to come out. And it's, yeah, they had to you kind of have to bank on the fact that Goof Troop, which comes out as a hit, they had already seen DuckTales Treasure of the Lost Lamp, which was, I like that movie. I guess it wasn't like a gigantic box office success for them, but it was also sort of based on the same thing. There was DuckTales, so for them to take a risk on Goof Troop really solidified it, considering sort of that Disney block of cartoons. Tailspin was already based on a movie, so to do a Tailspin movie felt almost like coming full circle. I don't know that we were ever going to get a Tailspin movie if these movies had become successful. I feel like it's the one that we've left behind, because we eventually did get that Rescue Rangers movie on Disney Plus. I would love to see a sequel, but and better audio description, that would be great. Both of those things would be amazing for Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. And Darkwing Duck, they're rebooting that. So for Disney Plus, we'll see what happens with that. The DuckTales reboot wasn't bad. So they're finding ways to keep these early 90s franchises alive. And of course, there was Goofy movie, and then they had the straight-to-video sequel, an extremely Goofy movie, which it's not as good. It's a lot of dequels are just not quite as good as the original. And it's not celebrating an anniversary, and I don't care enough to review that one. So we're just a Goofy movie. Max is worried about becoming his dad. He's worried about the young and the gorsh and all of those isms about his dad. And they've really sort of brought Goofy into a new light in this by allowing him to be just sort of he's like a single dad. And if you watch the movie independently, you don't really ever hear anything about any other family members, potential family members. He doesn't get to reminisce too much about, obviously having had a wife to produce Max. He does talk a lot about his father and how they went on road trips together. So there's that. But, there aren't like Goofy brothers and sisters or a grandmother. There aren't a lot of female goofs out in the world. So we don't ever get that perspective. It's just a single dad raising a son, and he's trying to do his best. To be fair, also some of the Goof Troop characters that flesh out PJ's family and Pete are kind of left by the wayside. I mean, he does have a wife and daughter, and it's kind of to mirror the movie, to help it sell the narrative a little bit more. It really does just focus on Pete and PJ every time we see them. So, it's this road trip because Max decides that he wants to try to impress this girl at school, as so many do in this era. And he goes to school and sets up this thing where he dresses up like Powerline and sort of this year-end assembly, which I noticed it's a little weird because Goofy's like asking him like where he's going, and it's like, to school, Dad. Like, what do you mean, where am I going? Like, Maxie, where are you off to? So do you not have a concept of school days, Goofy? Like, so yeah, Max is off to school. For somebody who's so worried later on about their kid not becoming a delinquent, you would think you would know whether or not it was a school day. But yeah, he questions Max as he's leaving. And the film tackles some, more grown-up issues, like dad knocking the door before he comes in. Why would dad do that for a teenage son? Crickets. Thanks, Kevin Lima, for putting that in the Goofy movie, so we can have conversations about why dad knocks before he comes in the room. um, and Max gets to school and he sets up with PJ and Bobby, a character that's I believe is unique to the movie. I don't think Bobby was ever in. I don't remember Bobby from Goof Troop at all. Uh, Granted, it's been a minute. I did do a little bit of a rewatch when all the cartoons, but I didn't go through the whole series when they all kind of landed on Disney Plus. I was so excited to see all of them that I had to check out at least a few episodes of all of them. But I think he's exclusive to the movie. I don't remember Pauly Shore ever being on Goof Troop. So, yeah, it's it works almost, and then it doesn't. And then suddenly he's the butt of the joke for the school. Like, it's the goof. So then he has to, try to impress her in another way. But unfortunately, he gets, I guess, thrown in jail for this stunt. And the principal, voiced by Wallace Shawn, tells his dad that if he doesn't do something with his kid, that he's going to be a delinquent and end up in the electric chair. I was like, well, that's connecting a wild set of dots there. If he keeps this up, electric chair. So Goofy, again, we're putting that in a kids movie, by the way. So we're progressing in the mid-90s here. So Goofy, of course, doesn't want his kid in the electric chair, so he plans this road trip for the summer through all of his favorite spots that I guess he used to do with his dad, even though Max doesn't seem like he would ever be interested in any of this. Goofy's just going to force him to go on a road trip, and that's part of the humor of it, is that there are two people who are polar opposites, and they have to see eye to eye. And it leads you to that song at the end with Powerline, where they get to dance to Eye. So, yeah, they go through a series of shenanigans. They go to the weird possum place, which Lester's possum is just, I mean, it's everything, That scene is excellent. And to some extent, I thought it was kind of making fun of Disney's Country Bear Jamboree, and because man, that thing used to break down a lot, or you'd have like one of the bears would not be working like 100%, when you rely on animatronic animals. It's also making fun of, obviously, like Chuck E. Cheese had that band. So, but we have Bigfoot that joins in here for some of the scenes. And, the perfect cast is featured. There's a little bit of a spat between Goofy and Max when Goofy gives him the opportunity to be the navigator. And, he wants to take Max to Lake Destiny, but Max, obviously, he's sort of boasted and said that they're going to a Powerline concert, so that his whole class thinks that he's, instead of going to this party he was going to go to watch the Powerline concert, he's actually going to the Powerline concert, he told. So he has to make a choice. And ultimately Max makes the selfish choice. Although more bonding starts happening when Max starts getting involved in the trip to begin with. So the stuff that Goofy was looking for, once Goofy starts doing things that are a little bit more along Max's speed and not his own, you start seeing sequences like when they go to the theme park that Max starts meeting uh, Goofy on the fun, and they start connecting a little bit more along the way. So it's just Pete keeps getting into Goofy's head. It's what's that saying? It's not about the destiny; it's about the journey. And so if you look at Goofy movie, it's really about the journey. It's about Max not even wanting to go anywhere with his dad. And then about halfway through, when Goofy relents and stops taking him to really silly places that were fun for him when he was a kid, but really haven't aged well, um, that's when he starts uh, actually having a little bit of fun with Max, is meeting him on some of the things that he might actually be interested in instead of forcing him along, especially considering that if he had just, I don't know, taken 5 seconds to talk to Max about what happened at school that day. Does he have a concept of school, or does he think there's some strange voice called him on the phone that day and told him, considering he didn't know where his son was going that day, and he was like, oh my God, my son left the house and he got in trouble, and now he's going to go to the electric chair. This is terrible. I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't know what school is. Maybe back in his day, he was able to go on road trips all the time because they didn't have school in the Goofy world. Um, so uh, I like the movie, and it's I love that Powerline has become a thing, and Eye to Eye has broken out as a song. I don't know that the other songs have really broken out, but they're fine. Yeah, I actually kind of forgot this movie was a musical. Um, in so much that it had more than two songs. I could only remember two songs. I was like, oh, there's more than two. It's kind of a musical. I mean, yeah, it has a little bit of a hard time living up to the same speed or whatever as Lion King, or the movie that's going to be released in the same year as this, which is Pocahontas. So, yeah, just a few months after Goofy movie, we got Pocahontas. So obviously, Colors of the Wind, you know, just surround the river bend, or more memorable tunes. But no, I love a Goofy movie. I remember watching it in the theaters the first time and loving it and thinking it was funny. But then again, like I said, I watched Goof Troop like all the time when I was younger. So to me, Goofy movie was just like an extension of that. Um, like there were some people who went into the X-Files movie in the 90s and they hadn't seen the TV series, so that was their introduction to the X-Files. And those people had a completely different experience with that movie than the people who watched X-Files religiously. So to them, it was an extension of the thing they were already in love with. And that happens a lot with the big screen transitions. It can work, it can backfire on you. Like, I was a huge fan of Entourage. I didn't like the Entourage movie. So, uh, not everything translates into a cinematic form, but I did feel like Goofy movie did a really great job of bringing Goof Troop to the big screen in a way that was impactful and oddly represented what life looked like. Um, and tried to tell a story and tried to relate to people and morals. And it was a father-son road trip movie. And, there are a lot of things, Hi Dad Soup, that kind of, I think, have stuck with people over the last 30 years. I think there are things in this movie that people saw whenever they saw them. Um, and I love how the movie has translated into pop culture, with some recognizing it as being the first uh, black movie, black animated movie made by Disney. I love that has taken on that life, that they recognize that as being its thing. Atlanta played into that with their episode, which was a brilliant episode. Just a standalone, just absolutely brilliant episode that Donald Glover put together in Atlanta, having to do with Goofy movie. Um, And obviously, if you watch not just a Goof, you know that there's really no correlation between those two things. But yeah, it was a very fun and interesting uh, uh, perspective, I guess you could say, on Goofy movie. So yeah, I'm glad everybody else is caught up, and we're all like, oh yeah, it has a little bit higher of an IMDb rating. When I just looked at it, it was at 6.9. So considering over time, I think it's slid up. I think more and more people are coming into it. And its Metacritic is like a 55, which isn't terrible. It's sort of very average, considering the critic scores and the reviews and everything that you hear from people. Um, you know, about maybe like the realism of like locking a car door, I guess shocks them, or I don't know, some of the other things that feel maybe a little too close to home. But it's a fun movie, and I think those who love it, and I think that's what they found out at D23, and that's why they started re-merchandising a Goofy movie and getting the stuff out there, is because they realized there were fans that somehow, even though this film didn't do banners business, just bonanzas, bonkers at the box office. Um, I actually remember like where I saw it, and the thing I remember was with it, like next door to it was Tommy Boy, and I don't know if I saw those two movies on the same day, but I also remember seeing Tommy Boy, and I think I just maybe saw them on different days, but I might have also seen them in the same day. I used to get dropped off at theaters and just move from movie theater to movie theater, so maybe that's why I remember Tommy Boy. But like I remember where I saw it. I remember that Tommy Boy was right there, and so in not just Goof, when they said when they listed the box office results, that Goofy fell behind Bad Boys, and then Tommy Boy was in third. I was like, well, of course Tommy Boy was in third. I remember exactly when those movies were out and next to each other. So um, that would have been a great day for movies to watch those two. But uh, check this out if you haven't. The audio description is fine. There's some scenes where there's a lot going on, and the audio description just doesn't find. It's not really concerned with finding all of its opportunities. It tries to make the most out of the really obvious ones. So it's not my favorite audio description track for a Disney movie, but it's not insufficient. It just is minimalistic and in its adequateness, if that's a thing. It's like, it kind of feels just like, well, that's fine. That was the bare minimum. If you've never seen the movie before, you won't be totally lost. You'll get some aspects of it. But yeah, that's it. Those are my thoughts on a Goofy movie. Try not to go into it. I'm sure there are people who go into it for an hour or two or whatever, but this is about my speed. This is about the length of video that I'm willing to make for a Goofy movie. So, and you're probably willing to listen to me talk about a Goofy movie. Thanks for watching. I'm giving Goofy movie, I'm gonna give it an A+. I don't know why it wouldn't be a Desert Island movie for me. It's a movie I've always liked, and I've seen it a bunch of times. It benefited from the fact that I saw it in theaters. I owned it on VHS. It's played on Disney Channel and Disney XD and Freeform, and now it's on Disney Plus. And I don't know how many times I've seen a Goofy movie, but it's been a lot. And it's really quick. Like, it's a fast movie. Uh, it's definitely not 90 minutes. It's under 90 minutes, because I watched this and then it felt like it was over, and I was like, wow, is this feature length? It just feels like it moves by so quickly. So, yeah, it does not waste time. So, anyway, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.